welcome Dr. Kamal. It is an absolute honor to have you here at Astro for the very first time, and a true pleasure to have you here at our booth at Nelco. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your, I know, very busy schedule. As Chief Patient Officer, the very first Chief Patient Officer for the American Cancer Society, that gives us an indication of how committed your organization is to patient care. Could you tell us a little bit about what that entails and some of your top priorities?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Rick, for having me. And this is my first Astro, and so it's wonderful to be part of your community here. And I love the question. So at the American Cancer Society, we are deeply committed to improving the experience for all at risk of cancer, going through a cancer diagnosis, their caregivers, and their communities. And so every year in about 20,000 individual communities, we touch the lives of about 55 million unique individuals. And we do this in a multitude of ways. You mentioned the Hope Lodge, which is where we allow people to stay at no cost who are receiving cancer care. We have 32 Hope Lodge communities in the country, but also we give about 55,000 rides to people across the country. We provide navigation services, education, consultations, and so on. The idea being that we're partners with everyone else, healthcare systems, organizations like yourselves, so that people can find their way to cure, to better quality of life, and to better survivorship.
That is terrific. We absolutely admire all that you and your entire team are doing for the cancer community. We've been proud supporters of the American Cancer Society for many years. And I also believe that we share this common vision. Here at Nelco, we are very, very committed to patient care. When patients are going through treatment, we are extremely committed to their safety within cancer treatment vaults and rooms, and then also to provide a very comfortable and inclusive setting for cancer patients and their families. And as we know, cancer is a family disease.
That's right.
And I know the Hope Lodge, as you mentioned, is very committed to providing that kind of an environment. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about the Hope Lodge.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Hope Lodge is one of our best kept secrets at the American Cancer Society. Most people aren't exactly sure what it is. So I'll tell you, in 32 cities across the country, we have a brick and mortar facility where people can stay during a cancer journey. The idea is that the patients, the caregivers, their family can stay with us for an indefinite period of time. And in fact, on average, the length of stay is about 2.5 weeks. So we get patients who are finishing up their radiation therapy, people who are going through transplant. And the idea is it's like a home away from home. We create these communities where people create lifelong relationships, friendships, and where they can be around others who understand fundamentally the experience that they're going through. And then we provide, them meals and a place to stay, and really a community that understands them. And oftentimes what people have is lifelong relationships. Even after cure, they're still reaching out to the folks they met at the Hope Lodge. And that's really fundamentally what we recognize is an extraordinary barrier. In fact, the number one reason that people don't finish timely care is because of lodging and transportation, and we see that lodging solution as really important to our portfolio of work.
That is terrific, and there are 32 centers that the American Cancer Society has involvement with. Within those centers, are the amenities similar from one to the other?
Yeah, so we build these Hope Lodges thinking about the local community. So if you're in Houston versus Birmingham, they're going to be a little bit different, but we do them in concert with health systems and talking with the community members themselves. We're looking to evolve our Hope Lodge program too, to bring more partnerships in place so that people have like a town hall, a town center where they can come in and learn about cancer prevention, learn about survivorship, take yoga classes, take cooking classes, etc. So it becomes more than just a place to stay. It's a place to learn, engage, grow, collaborate, and connect with other people. And that's our vision into the future. We're looking to build 10 more Hope Lodges over the next 10 years. It's part of a very large capital campaign. And in fact, since we're here in San Diego together, many of them, we're looking to expand, particularly in the western part of the United States, where we see many areas of disparities and large rural areas where cancer centers are trying to pull from to get access to innovative care. And what we're worried about is that people who live in rural areas, I grew up in a rural area, a town of 15,000, is that's where innovation is going to come last. And what we're very interested in is making sure that those folks are among the first in line to get access to innovation, and we give them a place to stay so they can do just that.
That is excellent, and the facilities sound state-of-the-art, almost five-star. Could you expand a little bit on the culture, the number of cancer patients that are there, the network that they have, the caregivers that are there, and the network they have, and how that interaction takes place?
Yeah, I would say for anyone who's never been to a Hope Lodge, you should go and take a look. And I would say the most common reflection I get is, wow, this is a lot nicer than I would have thought. And because we know it's free, people might picture a particular sense of quality. I'm going to tell you, I take it very personally that we make it a five-star place because, frankly, the people that we're taking care of, it's just too important to make it anything short of that. And so the experiences are often, really nice. We renovate the kitchens. There's a community area like a living room, a community kitchen. People have their own private rooms, their own private pantry, so they have privacy and yet plenty of opportunity to just be in a shared space with others. And then we have beautiful, gardens and overlooks and banisters and things like that. So if you're in New York City, you've got a view of the Empire State Building. If you're in Houston, you've got this gorgeous view. If you're in Salt Lake City, you're going to see the mountains. So the idea is a place to get refreshed and to fill your cup back up. The other thing we're paying a lot of attention to is site of service change in oncology. What we're recognizing is increasingly there's a movement to provide care in the place someone calls home. An example today might be physical therapy, occupational therapy, wound care, speech therapy, which we now allow in the Hope Lodge communities. But as we look towards the future, things like infusional therapies, where people might, want to stay closer, but not necessarily in the hospital, will allow that so they can still have a sense of community, not have to go back home, but don't have to sit in a hospital while they're getting their care.
So what would the ideal patient and caregiver be that might come to a community? Is it someone who lives far away or someone that perhaps needs the extra care to be near the hospital?
Yeah, it's a mix, really. Most people for us come from 20 miles away or farther, but we certainly do make exceptions for that. I think that we don't use a means test. Mm-hmm. Frankly, I don't care what people make, never will. If you have a need, that's what the Hope Lodge is there for, is to meet that need. And so we have patients stay with us for months on end. We have patients stay with us for 1 or 2 nights. We have caregivers stay just by themselves while their loved one is in the hospital. It comes in all different flavors. We have folks who come in, let's say, get their radiation Monday through Friday, go home Saturday, Sunday, and come right back on Monday and continue onward. So it gives you a home base. And oftentimes, people going through a cancer journey are just looking for something familiar, something warm, something comforting, and that's what we've made in our Hope Lodge communities.
That is absolutely terrific. And you mentioned that the Hope Lodge is one of the best kept secrets, and we're so happy to have you here because the culture, the environment, what exists with those facilities is absolutely spectacular, and there are so many stakeholders that are here. How does the American Cancer Society raise awareness and visibility in this program, and how can we help?
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, we still have Hope Lodges that are not full. And so we ask all health systems and partners to think about a Hope Lodge in your city and bring attention and awareness to it. Certainly, these are one of those situations where we have to fundraise every year to make sure the operations are sustainable and give a 5-star, as you said, a 5-star experience so we don't cut corners. So, we look for partnerships around fundraising, around visibility. What I would say is if you do have a Hope Lodge in a city that that you're in or associated with, come make a meal. Plenty of opportunities to come make a lasagna and some salad and serve it up to patients who oftentimes after a long day are just looking for a place to kind of, get a meal and relax and stay together. And I think it's a great team building opportunity as well. And if you're in a city that doesn't have a Hope Lodge and you're thinking to yourself, well, we could use something like that, then you should talk to us because we're right now absolutely in the place where we're looking for those next 10 places to put them and open to suggestions and ideas about how we could partner to make that happen.
Well, that's terrific. I know there will be many, both individuals as well as companies that I would suspect will have an interest in this. And you touched on volunteer work, so individuals that can participate in the actual Hope Lodge and perhaps come in and spend some time. How can companies get involved?
Yeah, well, if you have a Hope Lodge in your city, I would say just reach out, call the Hope Lodge and say, hey, we want to do a retreat. We've got a team that wants to come in, et cetera. Oftentimes, because we've got, landscaping and other things, we're always looking for help to keep those up. But also, every night we're looking for a group of folks to come in and help make a meal. And it becomes one of those moments for companies and corporations and organizations that are mission driven to sometimes just kind of have that reflective moment where you just have an evening to remind yourself why you do the work that you do. For all of us that do things that are patient facing, sometimes it's a little indirect, right, what we do. And that becomes suddenly very direct in a very short period of time. And I can tell you, there's that moment where you make a meal for a person going through a cancer journey. They feel better, you feel better. And I think what it does is it inspires us to remember our humanity and why we do the work that we do so that we can improve the quality of life of people going through that journey. And I think that connection is really important because sometimes when we think about a person with cancer, it feels like a different group of people or something that couldn't happen to me. And then you walk in and you find people your age, people who might be very successful executives, people who are in various different positions that might mimic what you are. And there's a certain part of that you can reach out to and feel a part of. And I think that moments like that are really important to keep us all humble and grateful and wanting to give back. And I think it's great for that purpose.
That is absolutely terrific, Dr. Kamal. As you mentioned before, number one, you've talked about expanding 10 lodges. That must take a lot of money. But just to run the lodges, you've talked about transportation, you've talked about meals, you've talked about a very compassionate staff.
Right.
It must be very expensive for these lodges to just operate on an annual basis. How can we help out with fundraising?
Yeah, well, we do this every single year, and for the Hope Lodges, we own them and take accountability for the fundraising for them. But we do that with communities, we do that with corporations, we do that with health systems together. What we've been able to demonstrate, for example, to health systems is when a Hope Lodge is in place, we improve the catchment area for that city. So what we show is that all the patients, for example, if a health system wants to diversify their patient population, well, Hope Lodges do that. They want to keep patients in the city instead of going back home to complete their care, we do that. They want to help with compliance issues, right? They want to get through the full regimen, we can help do that. And frankly, from just a dollars and cents perspective, we can help from a revenue perspective too, because all of that helps bring sustainability to a health system and the programs that they have. So what we do is annually is we do fundraising for these lodges. They're about $500,000 to $1 million to run per year. And that's every year we renew that campaign. So my encouragement to everyone is if you've got an office, come by and volunteer, get attached to the American Cancer Society, and then please do consider doing a fundraising campaign to help that Hope Lodge, because I promise you it's bringing good things to the city that you're in, to the corporation that you're part of, and to the community that you belong to.
And having had our organization that has participated in the Hope Lodge, serving meals, having some of our team be there with the cancer patients and the caregivers, rewarding doesn't even begin to explain how special it really is.
Yeah.
And we talked about the fact that the facilities, though, themselves, in addition to the compassion and the staff that is so committed there, we talked about how great they are. How does the American Cancer Society continually improve upon that?
Yeah, well, we've been doing it for 30 years now, and we continue to make it better, particularly now focused on the experience. So allowing caregivers to stay by themselves so that like their loved ones admitted to the hospital. We learned, for example, from COVID that for a lot of people, sitting in that corner chair in the hospital room is not the ideal place to be. Sometimes you just want to take a shower and have a place to relax. So allowing that and physical therapy and occupational therapy, and as I mentioned, bringing together really this town center where people can come together and learn about cancer prevention, survivorship, healthy living, and nutrition, recognizing increasingly, right, that obesity is starting to become kind of the tobacco of our time, right? As we recognize age shifts in particular cancers like breast and endometrial, and we recognize it's important to get the word out about how we live, how we act, how we interact in our communities. And we see these Hope Lodges increasingly as a place to bring people together, teach them something, and be part of the cancer journey from a prevention perspective, because we believe that's really where a lot of the blue ocean remains.
Dr. Kamal, it is incredible how deeply committed you are and the vision that you provide to your team and what they do. Thank you for all that you're doing. Could you perhaps, as we wind things down, just summarize the key takeaways that the folks that are here at the Astro can do to help you and your organization?
Yeah, well, look, we have to do it together. ACS, we build the buildings, but and we maintain the buildings. That's what we do. But they only work because communities are invested in them, and that means corporations, other nonprofits, health systems. We all have to work together to make these things happen. You know, fundamentally, what we're seeing now is a really important inflection point between innovation availability and innovation accessibility. And we believe that Hope Lodge is part of the accessibility story, that it's not enough to have something cool and great that could potentially cure you, but I want to make sure that the person who's in rural California can get there, that the person in rural Utah can get there so that we can help cure them as well. Because fundamentally, closing disparity gaps is what we want to do, all of us together, and Hope Lodge is one way to do that. So we're looking for partnerships, ideas, fundraising, collaboration in all the different ways, big and small, because it all makes a difference.
Thank you again, Dr. Kamal. It truly is a pleasure to help and be part of your team. And I know there are others here at the Astro Show that will want to participate. And let me remind everyone that we here at Nelco are celebrating our 90th anniversary. And we'd like to welcome anyone that would like to come. We've got a party that we're hosting tonight, but it's a dual event. It's a dual event where we're hosting it with the American Cancer Society, and it is a fundraiser for the Hope Lodge. So please, if you can build it in your schedule, join us. Thank you all very much.